5 Utah football players heard their names called in the 2024 NFL Draft. We're talking about them and the undrafted free agent Utah players who also found their next team. All that on today's Locked On Utes.
You are Locked On Utes, your daily podcast on the Utah Utes. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, everyone, and thank you for making Locked On Utes your first listen every single day. We are available on all platforms, including YouTube and wherever you may get your podcast. If this is your first time listening to our show, make sure you like and subscribe. Love interacting with all the YouTube comments as well as on social media, where you can follow our show at Locked On Utes on X. Today's episode of Locked On Utes is brought to you by Monopoly Go. I admit it, I have a competitive side, and it's why I'm a big fan of Monopoly Go. The mobile hit twist on classic Monopoly. You can join your friends and download Monopoly Go now, free on the App Store or Google Play Store. My name is JT Wistrcill, former intern inside the University of Utah Athletic Department. Excited to be joined on today's show by KSL Sports' Alex Napoles. And Alex, when you're talking about the NFL Draft, it's always a fun time of year to see all these teams come together, all these players get an opportunity. You know, you'd love all the videos of seeing the guys, just the pure joy on their faces when they get drafted. And it was awesome to see so many Utah football players experience that. So that's what we're going to do on today's show. Talk about all the Utah players who got drafted. We'll talk about it in order. We're going to dive into how it fits for the players, as well as tell maybe fans, if you're tuning in from that team, what kind of a player you're getting in that Utah guy, as well as the undrafted free agent. So let's just get into it right away. With the first Ute going off the board was Cole Bishop. I felt like Bishop was going to end up being the first Ute off the board, really, ever since Jim Nagy was the one who said that NFL teams were higher on Bishop than kind of the media was per se. And that proved to be the case. As we said, Bishop was the first Ute off the board. He ended up going just inside of round 2 as the 60th pick. And I love that he's ended up in a place like Buffalo too. Just a team that, number one, is a contender. And I know we can talk about like, oh, Josh Allen doesn't have as many weapons, although Keon Coleman, or however it is, won his press conference after the draft was absolutely sensational. So they got him a weapon, but like either way, the Bills are going to be really good. And Josh Allen is going to make them always relevant. And now we get to see Dalton Kincaid and Cole Bishop teammates again, as well as Keaton Bills. We'll talk about that at the end of the show. But I love this for Bishop. He's got a chance to start right away next to Taylor Rapp. They had to let go a few of their safeties in the offseason, Micah Hyde being one of them. So there's an immediate opening for him to come in. And I think Buffalo is going to love this guy. You're talking about a guy who's physical, which a city like Buffalo is absolutely going to love, with their hard-nosed, tough fans that are willing to stand out there in the cold. So Bishop, a sensational tackler, a guy who can cover tight ends too, can kind of do a little bit of everything, patrol the back end, an elite blitzer. I think he was one of the best safeties in the draft, in the box in particular. So I can't wait to see him get to Buffalo. And I seriously think he has a chance to just straight up win the starting strong safety job.
100% agree with you, JT. And as you mentioned, I think his high football IQ, the way he reads the offenses, and his ability to blitz. I think that's what made him such a special player for Utah, is his ability to get downfield and disrupt the run, disrupt the passing game, get in a QB's face at moments. He is super smart, super intelligent defensive player. And like you mentioned, Micah Hyde is a big loss for Buffalo. He's a veteran player, a very good player at that. And that hole in the defense is open for a Cole Bishop to step up and take that opportunity. And I think with the defensive scheme that the Bills like to play, and the way they like to set up their defense, I think Cole Bishop has more than enough tools to step in and potentially get that starting position right away.
He really does. So super exciting fit. So happy he's with those former Utah teammates as well who highlighted. And it was funny to hear Brandon Beane on the call even say that, you know, Dalton's been in my ear all offseason trying to get me to draft you too. So he loved that Dalton was vouching for him. And it's easy to see why, as soon as you turn on the tape, why he was a guy you'd want to vouch for, a guy who won 2 Pac-12 championships during his time at Utah, was an elite presence on the defense ever since he stepped foot on campus. So really excited to see what Bishop can do in Buffalo. Love the fit there. Just like I'm also really excited to see Jonah Elliss getting an opportunity with the Denver Broncos. He was the next Ute off the board after we ended up seeing Cole Bishop go. There was no surprise there. Elliss ended up going in round 3, pick number 76. And Denver fans, you're getting a phenomenal pass rusher here. And a phenomenal as in, yes, maybe not NFL standards. He's not going to walk in and get 10 sacks, everything like that. I do think he has a chance, like even just right away, to be a guy that provides good pressure, be a 5-sack type of guy, because obviously he's not going to draw the top assignment. I think he is a guy that could come in on some third downs, and he is a good run defender defender to me, but where he's really going to make his money is on those money downs, third downs for his pass rush ability. His hands are exceptional. He's got a nice spin move too. Good feet, just a veteran rusher he was in college. He used and just honed his skills in. And I think it's what's going to allow him to succeed at the NFL level too. And this is a team that does need some pass rush help. I mean, just looking at their depth chart here, right? They got some guys like a John Franklin Myers. Like I liked him. Malcolm Roach comes over too. Like there's some all right offensive and defensive linemen on Denver's roster, but honestly, the best D lineman, Zach Allen, he's kind of a 3-4 DN type of player. Like no one on this roster where I'm like, oh yeah, this is the difference making pass rush right here. Like they have some fun players, some guys that can do some things, I think, but there's no reason to think Elliss couldn't be in on some key third downs. I do expect him to be one of the top 4 defensive ends on the Broncos roster because he does something at a high level, sack the quarterback, that you need to do in order to have success for your team defensively in the NFL.
I think the Broncos are going to be fairly surprised with what Jonah Elliss brings on that pass rush. And the thing I really like about Jonah Elliss is like last year he was he was on this Utah roster. We didn't really hear much of like Jonah Elliss up until the injuries this season. Jonah Elliss really took that opportunity, stepped up, made it his, and was amongst one of the top leaders in sacks in the nation. Now he's heading over to the NFL. I think the Denver Broncos, even though they don't necessarily know too much of Jonah Elliss, are going to be fairly surprised with the effort, the grit, the determination, and the pass rush that he's going to bring to that defense. I'm very excited for Elliss and his landing spot at Denver, and it just so happens to be the same place where his dad played, so it all works out.
Exactly. Yeah, it's truly awesome to see him there. Thomas Yasmin, also a Denver Bronco now too, and so is Devaghn Vele, of course. So we got a lot of Utah players we'll be highlighting that are now members of the Denver Broncos team as this one wears on. But the next Ute we're going to be talking about is a guy that I didn't expect him to be the third Utah player drafted, but dang, was I pleasantly surprised when he was here at his name called Sione Vaki going to the Detroit Lions, a fit that I even brought up on last week's show, just saying like, hey, doesn't Sione feel like a Dan Campbell guy? And the Lions must have felt so too, because Brad Holmes decided to make him a Lion with the team's 5th round pick. As we saw, Vaki ended up going to Detroit, as we mentioned. And I'm really fired up for what Sione will have an opportunity to bring in Detroit too. Going in the 5th round, he's a guy that was, the 4th round. Sione was a 4th round pick, 132. Sione is a guy who can do it all. And that's where the Lions are really intrigued by him. It sounds like he's going to get a real shot at running back there too. And obviously maybe make his money early on in special teams and still do some things defensively. But they're really excited about his potential as a running back. And it's hard not to be when you see what he was able to do as not just a straight up running back, but also as a receiving back with his Utah team last year too. Just the elusiveness, the quick cuts, the speed is something that I know personally really fired me up just watching his tape a little bit. So, Lions fans are going to be loving on him too. It's currently listed on the NFL depth charts that I've just pulled up from ourlads.com. He is listed as the backup strong safety at the moment. I think he's got a chance to be that too. But once again, I think he's got a real shot to earn snaps even early on as a running back, right? Because yes, they got Jeremy Gibbs and David Montgomery, who are obviously one of the better 1-2 punches in the NFL. But we always see that extra running back, like every NFL team, even when you got a good 1-2 punch, it seems like there's always some random third guy that gets a carry. And I do think Vaki on special packages could be that guy for Detroit. So I love that he is with an organization with an exceptional culture that's going to work hard for him and develop him. And how hard Sione is going to work too. So I expect this to work out really well for Detroit. And I think he can contribute some on offense, but if not, I think they're getting a heck of a defensive / special teams guy as well too, Alex.
Vaki's another guy that I think massively benefited from Utah's injury situation this season, where he had to show off his versatility and step into an offensive role, play that running back role, play that a catching running back too at times, and he really took his opportunity and ran with it. And I think that really improved his stock draft and helped him land at the Lions, because we saw how versatile he is. We saw how electric he is. He's a guy who can at any given moment can really boost an offense. And I hope he gets those opportunities at the running back, but I also think he's going to bring a lot on the defensive side of the ball. So it'll be really interesting to see how the Lions decide to utilize Sione Vaki, because he is very versatile and could do just about anything for you.
He is. It's going to be really exciting to see what he can do in Detroit. I love the culture fit, as I mentioned. Sione, an incredibly hard worker and a guy who's been counted out a lot because of his size at times. Proved a lot of people wrong in Utah. I think he's going to prove a lot of people wrong that had him not going until the 6th or 7th round. Heck, even I said I thought he went in the 5th round because off the top of my head, that's where I thought he did go. But he was a 4th round selection for a reason because of the strong year he put together and the potential he showed on tape. So super excited to see what Sione can do. And that was just 3 of the Utah players who got drafted. We still got to talk about the 2 other Utes who were drafted, including another surprise receiver for Utah that heard his name called in the 7th round. We'll be diving into those guys in one moment. But first, I want to talk to you about our friends at Monopoly Go. All right, as you all know, I have a competitive side, and I'm not afraid to be honest about it either. So that's why I'm a huge fan of Monopoly Go. All right, game off. We got to pause here to talk about Monopoly Go again. You know what I'm saying? Flag on the play. You already talked about that, but there's just so much good stuff in this game to talk about. In Monopoly Go, you can team up with friends for timed tournaments where you work together to build up each other's boards. The more you win together, the more awesome prizes you unlock. And there's so much to get. Unique stickers you can trade with friends to complete albums for big prizes, cool new playing pieces to travel the boards with, hilarious emojis for taunting friends when you smash their buildings or heist their vaults. Plus, Monopoly Go feels just like that old classic Monopoly that you love to play. And they also offer cool tournament and challenges, a ton, including their own unique mini games like digging for treasure or a robot Pinocchio machine. And there's always new timed events that help you win big, like massive multiplayer for everything you want to win or rent frenzies. There's always something fun to discover in Monopoly Go. So get off the bench and go download it now for free on Google Play Store or the App Store. Game on. Head over and get Monopoly Go today. Alex, keeping it rolling with these pro Utes. We got to talk about the next one who was selected, which was the guy we originally thought was going to be the 3rd Ute off the board until Sione Vaki pleasantly surprised us. And that is Satawa Laumea, ended up with the Seattle Seahawks. He goes over to the Seahawks in the 6th round, pick 197. And I'm super fired up for Satawa because Seattle is a team that's always been kind of physical, right? They've been known for their defense, and ever since the days of Marshawn Lynch running the ball. And they got a guy in Kenneth Walker who's been a really good NFL back too. And I think, Geno Smith is a strong quarterback too. Like they have these other receivers on the outside of DK Metcalf, a Jackson Smith and Jigba, who Utah fans remember from that Rose Bowl, how good Jackson Smith and Jigba can be too, as well as the Tyler Lockett. So it's a complete offense. And it's a new coaching staff in there too. It's the Ravens defensive coordinator. I'm blanking on his name off the top of my head, but I like the culture that they're trying to put in place here too. Not just the Seattle culture, but also coming over from Baltimore, a place that also likes to do what? Run the ball. And that is Satawa's best strength. He will move back inside to the interior where he is best at. And I do think has a chance to be a potent offensive lineman for the Seahawks. Early on, expect him to be a backup, but I do think he's going to have a chance to grind, work hard, and make a name for himself as that physical run blocker who will benefit from pass blocking on the interior too, where he had his ups and downs at right tackle for Utah. He was a really good college right tackle. It's just at the NFL, there's a jump. Hence why I think he'll be better on the inside. He was a great collegiate guard. I think he has a chance to be a strong guard in the NFL. I'm excited to see where he falls this first year, but either way, I think this is a great place for Satawa to learn, grow, and potentially become a starter.
I'm right there with you, and I think I love that you mentioned the weapons that Seattle has because they do have a lot of really good weapons in Jigba and Lockett. I think Geno's a good quarterback. They just didn't have a line last year. They didn't really have an offensive line that enforces their will upon their opponents like we've seen Seattle's of the past. And so I think this is a great opportunity for him to step up and impose his style into the NFL and say, hey, I am here and I'm going to earn this spot. And I think he's going to have a fantastic time doing that in Seattle because they're revamping that line. They've had a really strong emphasis on rebuilding their offensive line this season. So the opportunity is there for the taking. And I think he can.
I think he can too. I'm excited to see what he can do. And honestly, Alex, going into this, I thought that would be it for Utah players drafted. But another pleasant surprise was seeing Devaghn Vele hear his name called by the Denver Broncos coming in the 7th round. We got to see Vele go. Pick number 235, but all that matters is he got drafted. Did not get a combine invite either, if I remember correctly. Maybe I could be wrong on that, but I think he did not get a combine invite. So I was super fired up to see him get an opportunity with the Denver Broncos here. Vele's a guy, the more I think about it, Vele might have had a combine invite. You guys can correct me on that in the comments. But either way, Vele is a guy who just really got a raw deal last year. I mean, came back to school for the opportunity to play with Cam Rising. Cam Rising was not able to come back in time for the season. His stats really suffered. I think Vele ended up with 600-something yards. If Cam had been healthy, you add 200 to that. I think there's even a chance he could have gotten close to the 900, 1,000 mark, somewhere like that. I don't know if he would have gotten all the way to 1,000, but we already heard how much the excitement is about how explosive this offense is going to be this coming season. That's because Cam Rising is back. Vele would have been a huge part of that last season. And I'm glad the film showed the coaches that, hey, this is a large target, right? You're talking about a guy with a great wingspan, good length, around 6'5", I believe, too, and a pretty good route runner, too. So you got that large catch radius, that ability to go up and get passes is something he potentially has. I think he wasn't something he always was exceptional at in college, but you can't teach that physical frame that Vele has. So I think this is another really good spot for him coming into here too. And the Broncos receivers, look, they just traded away Jerry Jeudy, so they still got some other guys in there. If you look at a Cortland Sutton, Josh Reynolds, Marvin Mims, a little Humphrey Jordan, Tim Patrick, and a Troy Franklin, like those are all just names off the top of my head that I do like what each of those guys can offer, especially Troy Franklin pairing him up with Bo Nix now. But I think Vele can be a guy, maybe he starts on the practice squad his first year. 7th round picks always do. And we know how hard Vele is going to work. He's also a wide receiver more than willing to block, which is something that gets coaches in general just fired up. You want to stand out or make plays in practice. Vele is going to get to work there. And I'm super fired up for the opportunity for him. It was so great to hear his name called. And he's just a guy, one of those guys who like, just give him a chance. And I think he can make the most of the opportunity. Really fired up for what Devaghn Vele could potentially do in Sean Payton's offense.
And I love that they're giving him a chance because I'm glad they're not penalizing him for having a less, like, not having the stats that we probably would have expected Devaghn Vele to have this season had Cam Rising been available, right? Yep. I'm glad they're not penalizing for that. And like you mentioned, they're giving him that opportunity. They're giving him that chance to come in and hopefully try to make a difference, because there is going to be spots opening on that wide receiver core and we'll see who Sean Payton decides to go with, and Devaghn Vele can jump in and maybe again try to capitalize on that opportunity. He's a very hard worker, very physical guy, and I'm hoping that can translate over to the NFL game for Devaghn.
I'm excited to see if it can too. So it's a great opportunity for Devaghn. Awesome that 5 Utah players heard their names called in the NFL draft. But there are a couple of undrafted free agents. And for the first one, we can stay right in Denver, as Thomas Yasmin was signed by the Denver Broncos, potentially to be a tight end for this team. And this is a Denver team that they do need some tight ends. I mean, Adam Trotman is a guy who came over from New Orleans, was drafted by Sean Payton. Didn't play out great over there. He was fine in New Orleans. So he's going to be the team starting Diane. They got some other guys like Greg Dulcich, who I remember hearing his name a few times before. Like, Yasmin, probably not going to be a big contributor this year, but I do think he's got a real shot to make the roster. And some of you may think, well, why would you say that? And all I would say is go check out his measurements, because my gosh, there are not a lot of humans built like Thomas Yasmin who can run at that speed. He is a physical freak, and we saw it. There's a reason. He caught, I think it was 22 passes during his time at Utah. And the fact that I can recall at least 8 of them off the top of my head just shows you the potential that is there. And that's what so much of the NFL draft is, the potential to succeed. And he absolutely has that, Yasmin. So I love this spot. I think it's an opportunity for him to go in, learn hard work. I would have liked for him maybe to be with like a veteran tight end who's been really successful, rather than a guy like Trotman who's still like kind of trying to make work and make a name for himself. But going with a mind like Sean Payton offensively, not that I don't know how much time Payton's going to spend with Yasmin, but I do just got to believe Yasmin. And, it sucks. He was another guy who got hurt last year too, right? Not only that, but not having Cam there, because we saw a good, like the play against Oregon State where he's able to break a tackle and go off. Like, I just still think there's potential there for him to be I honestly believe he has the potential to be a strong starting tight end in the NFL, just because of the physical profile. We'll see if injuries or maybe just some of the inconsistencies get in the way of that. But I like that Yasmin ended up with an offensive-minded head coach, and he's got some teammates with him there too, in Vele and Elliss, as well as a Tim Patrick.
That always helps. Having some familiarity there with having some like teammates around you, that always helps get a little bit more comfortable. So hopefully that'll help Yasmin. But look, I love you mentioned the physicality, and he definitely has the physical build to be a really powerful tight end in the NFL. I just think that he needs to work on a little bit more of some of the football stuff, and then maybe he has that chance. But the physicality is definitely there for him to be successful.
Yep, they definitely got potential. We'll see if he can execute it there. And, Yasmin, an undrafted free agent. We still got 2 undrafted free agent Utah football players. It was a great weekend for Utah yet again. The last 2 years, we saw first-round picks in Devin Lloyd 2 years ago, Dalton Kincaid last year. But the depth of this one, seeing Utah guys hear their name called all the way throughout, was really fun about this year's draft, something I really enjoyed. And I'm excited to talk about this next player, Bills. And no, I'm not talking about the Buffalo Bills. Well, in a way I am, because I'm talking about Keaton Bills. So Bills to the Bills. That's what we are going to be talking about in one moment. And yes, I think we're all going to enjoy being able to say that routinely. But first, I want to talk to you all about our friends at FanDuel Sportsbook. It's playoff time in the NBA, NHL, baseball's in full swing, and FanDuel is your place to bet on every game. Right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets guaranteed. That's $150 win or lose. You can bet on everything from slap shots to home runs to slam dunks, all on an app that is safe, secure, and super easy to use. What are you waiting for? Visit FanDuel.com/lockedon and make your first bet an automatic win. I am a Minnesota sports fan, so I am loving watching Anthony Edwards go to work right now in the NBA playoffs. By the time I'm recording this, I am hoping they were able to knock off the Phoenix Suns, but maybe they were not. But it's going to be tough for my Timberwolves going to the next round to beat the Denver Nuggets. Sorry, Laker fans. I know you got one game, but you're probably still going to get swept. So there is still tons of fun NBA action that you can get in on. The NHL playoffs. Utah fans, we got to start getting familiar with hockey with the NHL coming out to Utah now too. So make sure you guys head over to FanDuel. Look at all the great games and actions we got going on. Look at what the Pacers are being able to do. No Giannis, no Dame. Looks like the Bucks could be in trouble. If you guys want to capitalize on that or any of the NBA odds, make sure you head over to FanDuel today. FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Also want to talk to you all about another sponsor of our episode of Locked On Ute today, our great friends at Gametime. Gametime is now an authorized ticket marketplace for Major League Baseball, which makes getting tickets even faster and easier. Prices on the Gametime app actually go down the closer you get to first pitch. They have amazing last-minute deals, all-in-price views from your seat, and their low-price guarantee. Gametime truly takes the guesswork out of buying MLB tickets. Those last-minute deals are fantastic, whether it's saving up to 60% off buying last-minute tickets for any sports, concerts, comedy, or even theater events near you, and even other kind of events as well. Those flash deals also allow you to save even more with exclusive in-app deals on select seats ahead of the game event. You can also have zone deals when you save even more when you choose a section and let Gametime choose your seat. They have the all-in price. It's something that features the total upfront with no surprise fees at checkouts, and we know what a pain that can be with some of those other ticketing sites. My personal favorite feature has always been the view from your seats. You get a panoramic view from your seat, and the app that allows you to see exactly what kind of a view you're going to get when you buy. Also have that low price game guarantee in which Gametime will credit you 110% of the difference, as well as that Gametime ticket coverage. Your purchase is covered with the most flexible customer service policy in the ticket industry. So take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCollege. That's for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code capital LOCKED, capital O in on, so ON, and then college, so capital COLLEGE, Locked On College, all caps for the L, the O, and the C, one word, for $20 off. Download the Gametime app. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. All right, Alex, closing this one out. We got a few more Utes we need to talk about. And first, let's talk about Bills going to the Bills, because Keaton Bills signed with the Buffalo Bills as an undrafted free agent. And no, for all of you listening, I will not stop saying Bills, because it is just too much fun. Another guy where he's going into a winning situation, right? Buffalo has done some makeshift work around their offensive line, too. Keaton Bills is not going to be an undrafted free agent and start for them, but I do think he has a chance to earn a spot on the practice squad, potentially on the active roster as a backup guy too. I also think Bills is one of the sneaky, like, if you're telling me that to say like top 5 undrafted free agent jersey sales, I think Bills legitimately has a shot at that because the last name is Bills, Alex. So I think this is a fun fit for all sides around. And I love that he lands in a spot with a strong culture. And they have some veteran offensive linemen in there too, who can kind of show him the ropes, as well as he's back with Dalton Kincaid and Cole Bishop.
Again, that goes back to what we were talking about earlier with familiarity. It's easy to get comfortable with around people you already know. And yeah, there's some veteran players on that offensive line for the Bills that can definitely kind of take Keaton Bills under their wing a little bit, teach him the ropes, and hopefully he gets a spot on that practice squad and again has that opportunity to show the Bills what they can do, because I think fans will have a lot of fun with the Bills on Bills jersey.
That definitely feels that way. I know if I was a Bills fan, I'd be getting one of those right now too. But yeah, good for Bills landing there. And the last guy I want to talk about is Miles Battle landing with the Kansas City Chiefs. It was great to see Battle get the call there and going to a team that has won the last 2 Super Bowls, of course. So really fired up about the opportunity that he's got in Kansas City, not coming back with, but obviously Alex Whittingham is a guy who has Utah ties too. So Battle's the guy who's going to be looking to make the most of the opportunities on special teams. I think it's going to be tough for him to be a corner on the NFL level. Miles Battle, please play this clip. Please prove us all wrong. Go on to be a 5-year NFL starter. It's just really hard to start on the outside in the NFL. But I do think he's got a shot to carve out a role for himself on special teams, just being a guy who comes in, grinds, and work hard, especially being a gunner. He is long and athletic, so being able to get upfield and make those tackles. I think he will have a shot to make either more than likely the practice squad for Battle is what I'm thinking. But love that he gets to go to a team that has an incredibly strong winning pedigree, because it don't get better recently than those Chiefs.
Hopefully he can take advantage of that winning culture and go into that culture and work really hard. I don't know what to really expect from Miles Battle heading to the Kansas City Chiefs. I feel like it's a weird spot to land, just because I felt like the Chiefs defense was already kind of there, but we'll see what he we'll see what he can do. He's a tough worker. He's very athletic, so hopefully he can take that opportunity.
Yeah, it would be fun to see what he can do with it there. Congrats to all of the Utah players that were selected. Can't wait to follow along with their careers. We'll be talking more pro Utes at some point this offseason too, but it's been fun to see these guys rise throughout the draft process and excited to see their homes, because I do think so many of these guys landed in good cultures and good spots. So excited to see what these Utes can do here in the near future. Alex, we always appreciate you stopping by. If people want to check out your work, where should they head over to?
Yeah, head over and follow me on Twitter or X, whatever you want to call it nowadays, at Napoles Alex. It's typed up there below. And there you can follow me for Utah content, Utes content, some NHL stuff now, as the NHL is coming to the state of Utah. But most importantly, Real Salt Lake and Major League Soccer.
Lots of great stuff going on. See you touting the hat as well over there. And Alex, we just appreciate you always joining us. Great stuff. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thanks for the invite.
That's going to do it for today's edition of Locked On Utes. So we got a lot to talk about. The transfer portal is still going absolutely wild. We will be diving into that, as well as talking more things Utah in the NFL now because of these pro Utes on Locked On Utes this week. We look forward to seeing you then.